can move back.
Right, just get back there, mate. Get back there. Come here. I'm arresting you for facilitating the legal entry of migrants to the UK. Okay?
West London, 4 in the morning, November 2019. Doors come off hinges across the city. Not one door, several, all at once. National Crime Agency officers don't knock. They've been watching for 2 years. Tonight, they move. By sunrise, it's done. The arrests are made. The evidence is bagged. And a case that started with a single handwritten ledger is finally in the hands of a court. A ledger kept by a man who flew to Dubai more than once a week, for years. So, who was he? And how did £70 million leave this country, before anyone thought to ask? His name is Charan Singh, born July 1978. At the time of his arrest, 44 years old. He lived on Victoria Gardens, Hounslow, West London. Before Hounslow, he'd lived in the UAE, Dubai, and he knew how to use that connection. Because what Charan Singh had built wasn't just a criminal network, it was a machine, a cash machine, running in reverse. Instead of dispensing money, it was swallowing it. Dirty money, millions of it, and sending it east, to Dubai, in suitcases, on commercial flights, out of Heathrow. The NCA estimates the total moved somewhere in the region of £70 million. If you stack that in £50 notes, the pile would be taller than a double-decker bus. If you put it in suitcases, you'd need more luggage than most people own in a lifetime. And Singh's network did exactly that, trip after trip, courier after courier. So, how does it actually work? How does £70 million leave the country? Not through offshore accounts, not through shell companies, not through any of the methods you'd expect from a financial crime this size. Through Heathrow, in bags, on commercial flights, carried by ordinary-looking people. That's the part that should unsettle you, because it means it happened in plain sight, every single time. Let's walk through it. The money comes in first. Class A drugs, cocaine, heroin, moving through West London networks. Organized immigration crime. People paying to be moved across borders. Fees collected. Untraceable on its own. But useless if you can't spend it. You can't buy property with a bin bag full of notes. You can't invest it. You can't put it in a bank, not without explaining where it came from. So, you move it. That's where Singh came in. He wasn't the drug dealer. He wasn't the people smuggler. Not yet. At this stage, he was the solution. The man you called when you had a problem that looked like money. He built a system. He recruited couriers, people who could walk through an airport without drawing attention. He paid for their flights. Business class wasn't the goal. Blending in was. Each courier carried cash, declared amounts, kept within limits designed to avoid triggering alarms, and they flew. London to Dubai, Heathrow to Dubai International. In 2017 alone, 58 trips, 58. Work that out. More than one a week, every week, for an entire year. Some weeks Singh made the trip himself. Other weeks he sent someone, but every trip was tracked, every amount recorded. Because Singh did something that investigators would later describe as almost extraordinary for someone in his position. He kept a ledger, handwritten, a physical book, names, dates, amounts carried, trip by trip, week by week. The kind of record-keeping you'd expect from an accountant, not a money launderer. Think about that for a moment. He was moving tens of millions in criminal cash, and he was writing it all down, every entry, a confession in ink. But in his mind, it wasn't reckless, it was control. Singh ran this like a logistics operation, a supply chain, cash in, couriers deployed, Dubai reached, ledger updated. Because the destination mattered, Dubai was chosen deliberately. The UAE had, at the time, different financial declaration rules to the UK. Cash arriving in Dubai could be declared on entry, legally above board. which meant dirty money that left Heathrow in a bag, arrived in Dubai as declared funds. Documented, legitimate on paper, clean. That's the mechanism, that's the pipeline. Now, this is where the story shifts, because up to this point, you could almost frame this as a financial crime. But in 2019, the same network crossed a different line entirely. One that has nothing to do with money and everything to do with human beings, 17 of them, including 5 children and a pregnant woman. The network, already deep into moving cash, had expanded. Organized immigration crime wasn't just a source of income anymore. It was an active operation. People were being moved, smuggled, treated as cargo. And the method was exactly what you'd expect from people who had stopped seeing humans as humans. A van, loaded with tires and hidden inside. 17 people, adults, children. A woman carrying a child she hadn't yet delivered. All of them concealed. All of them hoping this was the last leg. That whatever they'd been promised on the other side of this journey was real. The van was heading for the Hook of Holland, a ferry port in the Netherlands. The plan, cross by sea, reach the UK, disappear into the network on arrival. It didn't happen. Dutch police, working directly with the NCA, were already watching. The intelligence had crossed borders before the van did. The vehicle was intercepted, before it reached the ferry, before it reached open water. The doors opened, and what they found inside wasn't tires. 17 people, in a sealed space, among them, children. Among them, a woman in the later stages of pregnancy. This wasn't an abstraction. This wasn't money in a suitcase. These were people. Breathing people, frightened people, people who had placed their lives and the lives of their children in the hands of a criminal network that viewed them as a transaction. And the same man at the center of the £70 million cash pipeline was connected to this, part of a system that had quietly expanded from financial crime into something far darker. The interception at Hook of Holland changed the scale of this case. It moved it from a money laundering investigation into something that prosecutors, and eventually a jury, could not look away from. Because you can argue about financial mechanisms, you can challenge flight records in court, you can dispute what a ledger entry means. But 17 people in a van, 5 of them children, 1 of them pregnant, that doesn't need an explanation, it is the explanation. They didn't move fast. That's the first thing to understand about how the NCA operates on a case like this. Speed isn't the goal, evidence is, and evidence takes time. For 2 years, officers watched, gathered, waited, flight data pulled and cross-referenced, cash declarations logged and mapped, communications intercepted, call by call, message by message. They were building something that couldn't be dismantled in a courtroom, a case with no soft edges, no room for doubt. Because doubt is expensive. Doubt is how people like Charan Singh walk free. So, the NCA made sure there was none. By November 2019, they had enough. More than enough. The surveillance had done its work. The flight records told a story no defense barrister could comfortably rewrite. And the ledger. The ledger was still sitting somewhere, waiting. On the morning of the raids, officers moved across multiple addresses in West London. Simultaneously, pre-dawn, no warning, no second chances. Charan Singh was arrested, so were others. One by one, the network that had operated in the shadows of Heathrow for years was pulled into the light. 18 people were eventually charged. 18. Which tells you something about the size of what Singh had built. This wasn't a small operation run by a handful of people in a back room. This was infrastructure, roles, hierarchy, defined responsibilities. A criminal organization with management layers. And it took nearly 4 years from arrest to trial. 4 years of legal process, of evidence prepared and challenged, of barristers reading flight manifests, of prosecutors building the timeline, trip by trip, ledger entry by ledger entry. The first trial began at Croydon Crown Court, January 2023. It ran through to April, 6 people convicted, among them Charan Singh himself, found guilty of conspiring to remove criminal property, money laundering. The ledger had done exactly what it was always going to do. It spoke, clearly, in his own handwriting, but the process wasn't finished. A second trial began in April, and midway through, something shifted. 6 defendants changed their plea. Guilty. Not to everything, but to enough. Enough to close the file on their involvement. Enough to avoid the full weight of a jury's verdict. It's a familiar calculation. Face the trial and risk everything, or fold and limit the damage. They folded. Now, let's talk about the people standing beside Singh when the sentences came down. Because this wasn't a one-man operation, and the sentences reflect that. Valjit Singh, Singh's right-hand man. Not a foot soldier, not a courier. The number 2, the person who kept the machine running when Singh wasn't there to run it himself. 11 years, Swander Singh Dal, the lieutenant, trusted enough to be involved in both arms of the operation, the money laundering and the people smuggling, both, which is why his sentence was different from the others. 10 years for the money laundering, 5 more for the immigration crime, 15 years total, the longest sentence handed down in this case, and then 13 others. Sentences ranging from 9 years at the top end to 11 months at the bottom, each one reflecting their position in the network, their level of involvement, their proximity to Singh. Sentencing day, September 15th, 2023. Croydon Crown Court. 3 days of hearings, all of it building toward this moment. Charan Singh, 45 years old. Victoria Gardens, Hounslow, formerly of Dubai. Architect of a £70 million criminal pipeline. 12 years, 6 months, that's the number, 12 and a half years, and across all 16 people sentenced that day, more than 70 years of combined prison time. 70 years. For a network that moved 70 million, almost a year behind bars for every million laundered. Do you think 12 and a half years is the right sentence for moving 70 million pounds in criminal cash? Let me know below, because that question has more layers to it than it first appears. And we're going to get into some of them right now. Here's what most coverage of this case missed. The conviction is one story. But what sits underneath it, what this case actually reveals about how money moves, how airports work, and how criminal networks think, that's a different story entirely. And it's one worth telling. Start with Heathrow. Because the question most people ask when they hear about this is, how? How does someone carry criminal cash through one of the busiest airports in the world, week after week, for years? The answer is uncomfortable. At the time Singh's network was operating, outbound cash checks at UK airports were limited. The focus was inbound, what's coming in, not what's leaving, which meant that a courier walking toward a Dubai-bound gate at Heathrow with a bag full of declared cash was largely unremarkable. Declare it at the right threshold, fill in the right form, keep moving. The system wasn't designed to catch this, not at scale, not consistently. Singh's network didn't find a flaw in the system. They found the architecture of it, and they built their entire operation around the gap. Since this case, controls have tightened, outbound checks have increased, but the vulnerability existed for years, and 70 million pounds walk straight through it. Then there's the ledger, which deserves more than a passing mention as a piece of evidence, because what the ledger actually represents is a mindset. Charan Singh wasn't running a street corner operation. He wasn't improvising. He was managing logistics, throughput, personnel, records. He ran a criminal enterprise with the discipline of someone who had run legitimate businesses, which raises a question investigators and criminologists have been asking for years. Where does that capability come from? Who teaches someone to think this way? Because the most dangerous organized criminals aren't the chaotic ones. They're the ones who bring order to chaos, who systemize, who document, who scale. Singh scaled, and the ledger is the proof of it. It's also, in the end, the proof of his downfall. Now, the sentence isn't the finish line. It never is in cases like this, because the money doesn't disappear just because the man who moved it is in a cell. Proceeds of Crime Act. Proceedings have been launched. POCA, as it's known, gives prosecutors the ability to trace assets, property, accounts, cash, anything acquired through criminal activity, and seek to recover it. It's a financial reckoning that runs parallel to the prison sentence. The goal, to strip away everything the network built, everything it bought, everything it accumulated, so that when these men eventually leave prison, there's nothing waiting for them on the other side. No house funded by dirty cash. No account quietly holding what the couriers carried. Nothing. That process is ongoing. And it matters. Because a 12-year sentence without asset recovery is a delay. Asset recovery, done properly, is a dismantling. There's also the question of what happens after release, because serious crime prevention orders have been issued against members of this network. SCPOs. These are civil orders, imposed post-conviction, that restrict what a person can do once they're free, who they can associate with, what financial activity they can engage in, what devices they can use, what businesses they can operate. They don't stop with the prison gate, they follow. Breach an SCPO, and you're back inside. It's a mechanism designed for exactly this type of offender. People with the capability and the contacts to rebuild. The order says, try and see what happens. After sentencing, the NCA's senior investigating officer, Chris Hill, put it simply. He said Singh and his network thought they were untouchable, moving tens of millions in criminal cash out of the UK. They weren't. That's the sentence that stays with me more than any other from this case. Not because it's dramatic, because it's accurate. Singh built something impressive, in the coldest sense of that word. A network with reach, with discipline. With the paper trail, he maintained himself. And he built it on the assumption that no one was watching closely enough to understand it. The NCA watched for 2 years. They understood every thread of it. And then, they pulled. 70 million pounds, 58 flights in a single year, 17 people in a van, 5 children, a pregnant woman, 1 handwritten ledger, and a man from Hounslow who thought Dubai was far enough away. It wasn't. If this case tells you anything, it's that the gap between a criminal and a conviction is almost always patience, theirs, or the investigators. In this case, the NCA had more of it. If you made it this far, thank you. This case took years to build and 1 ledger to break. If you found it worth your time, like the video. Subscribe if you want more cases like this. And drop a comment, whether it's on the sentence, the method, the scale, or anything else that stayed with you. I'll see you in the next one.